Moscato has a reputation for being sweet, but does that have to be the whole experience? Hang on to your butts, folks. This is a Barefoot wine episode. Did we find something better, or are both of these wines a waste?
Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast dedicated to helping you discover great wines with great value for every occasion. I'm Aaron, and this is the best damn wine show out there. And as always, I'm joined by Colin and Joel, the two best damn wine hosts out there.
Oh.
Yeah, see? I tossed a little extra on there.
That's like that.
Yeah, because we're going to need to toss a little extra out there, guys, because we are back on week 2 of the scariest wine challenge that we have ever put out there, and we're going to put out there, and we're never going to do it again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're doing it, and that's it. Because we are at the bottom of the barrel. Like we might even be on the underside of the barrel.
We chose to be
the
here.
barrel.
We chose.
Yeah.
We picked this part of the barrel.
We did.
This sounded
right.
like such a good idea at one point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about us being at this point now where we have to consume some of these, but
Well, it is a public service, folks. We're doing this for you. We knew these were wines that we were going to have to drink eventually. If we were going to honestly talk about them, if we were going to honestly call them good or bad wines, it's not fair that we just talk about them based on reputation. We had to actually drink them, and so we're doing that now. So this is the Drink This Not That challenge, where we are taking some of the most widely distributed, inexpensive and heavily panned wines out there, and we are trying to find a substitute that is generally around the same price range, but hopefully is a higher quality than that wine. And part of our challenge is basically that the host that finds the wine that has the closest price but the widest quality gap will win. So last week I had the yellowtail. Yeah, and man, I gotta tell you, it is a tough needle to thread. As I learned last week, I brought the Yellowtail Shiraz as my base, widely distributed, heavily panned wine, and let me tell you, that wine was truly
awful.
Truly awful.
It's just terrible. It's just not good. Nothing about that is decent.
It was bad. And you know what? As part of the challenge to bring a bad wine, I succeeded.
you did that part really well.
Nailed that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we're all going to nail that part. I mean, I think we got that one on lock.
And look, my substitute wine was the Penfolds Canoga Hill Shiraz. It's close price range. And I think one thing that I did get was the gap was pretty good. It was significantly better than the Yellowtail Shiraz. Not enough to get out of the waste category, unfortunately, as we landed. But I feel like as a first shot, I had a good gap. I felt good about my gap.
The winner of this challenge is going to be the person who is able to just barely squeak into that casual sipper category. If anybody can do that,
That's probably a win.
that's a lock.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Whew.
So that being said, Colin, you are the next sacrificial lamb. What
That's right.
disaster, and hopefully slightly less of a disaster, did you bring to us today?
And before you say, I was going to say we can only go up from here, but I'm not really sure that that's the case. Go
many
ahead,
directions.
Colin.
Yeah, so tonight, gentlemen, we have the absolute pleasure of drinking the California Barefoot Moscato.
Ooh.
This is my base wine. It comes in around 9% ABV, and you can pick this beauty up from $6 to $9, depending upon where you are. So,
How big of a bottle you want to buy? Did you go with the 1.5 liter again this week, Joel?
No, today I got the 750. I learned my lesson. As I poured 1.47 liters of wine down the drain after that last episode.
might I also mention non-vintage, which, very important for quality, as we've talked about in previous episodes. No, actually, the opposite of that is true. Usually non-vintage still wine is something to stay away from in general. Not always true. So we'll see how this one goes. And for my try this wine, I got the Rivata Moscato de Asti. This is from the Asti region of Italy. It is the 2025 vintage. It's only 5.5 ABV, and it's a little bit more expensive, coming in at $13.99 or $14. I'm hoping Moscato d'Asti is a DOCG, meaning that it's one of the highest quality levels in the Italian quality hierarchy. So I'm hoping, even a base level Moscato d'Asti can bring some value.
Sound reasoning.
All right.
Sound reasoning.
Makes sense to me. And Colin, just to correct me if I'm wrong, usually when a big mass produced wine does non-vintage, it's usually just because they are trying to just make something taste exactly the same every single time, every year, no matter what, right?
That's exactly right. They just have a bunch of wine sitting around that they can blend to try to make the same product every year. So they don't really care about the vintage because it really doesn't matter, because they can pull from different years to make the same thing. So that's what we're working with the Barefoot.
Someone running into their supermarket buying a $6 bottle of wine isn't looking for vintage variations in their Barefoot Moscato.
No.
Like we did last week with the Yellowtail, we're going to do a little bit different than our normal episode. We are going to dive right into our first wine, and we're going to spend a little bit less time assessing than we normally would, not because we don't really want to savor our time with this wine, but because, well, I think we can really nail this probably in 5 minutes or less. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and pick up your bare feet. Quick cheers to your Barefoot wine, and let's go ahead and put our noses in there, and let's do a real quick first sip for me. Don't drink too much. I want one word. Joel, one word. First one word.
Sprite.
Colin.
Cloying.
Cloying?
Yeah, like cloyingly sweet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My word is, huh?
Yeah, it's bad.
I like that.
Cool. All right, let's get our noses in there.
Ooh.
Colin, what the heck is that?
I smell nickels in here, like the currency. Nickels. Yeah. And not in a good way. I don't know if you can smell nickels in a good way, but there is a slightly metallic hint in there, which is really it's not good. And then honestly, Joel nailed it. It's Sprite.
Yeah.
And then maybe you throw like one of those like peach sour rings in there, and that's pretty much all we have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joel?
I mean, I guess in tandem with the Sprite, there's a little lemon, little citrusiness, but then I totally hear you with the metalliciness. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah. So let me ask, I have never had Moscato before. So I don't know what is the aroma coming out that is the representation of maybe low quality wine and like nonsense, and what is associated with the sweet varietal of Moscato itself. There's definitely like some like super uber sweetness coming off the top, and like a lot of floral happening that like I'm just not familiar with at all with the white wine, that I don't know is just like the barefootness of it. But I did give like a quick smell of the other one that we poured out, and I think there are some similarities there, so I'm sure that some of it is the Moscato itself, but I think maybe it's like that floral and that sweetness on top that I'm getting. But there's a bunch of other weird shit in there too.
It almost like hurts to smell too. Like it's not at all pleasant. There's nothing inviting about this. Like I don't want to drink it smelling it.
To me, like, it's not, I'm not offended here. I'm not like nervous. I am just like, this is Sprite. This is going to taste like Sprite. This is not like smelling a wine. It's like smelling a soda. It truly is.
Yep.
You know what's the one thing I can associate my brain to this I've had before? Mead.
Mead.
Have you guys ever had mead before?
Yeah. I get where you're going with that too, because almost like you can smell that it's sweet. Obviously,
like
it's got that honey note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good call. Should we try this thing?
That's enough of that. Yeah, take a sip. Joel,
as advertised, it's everything that we've said, plus a little uninvited kind of thickness in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the sugar.
Why is it so thick? Oh, it's the sugar.
The sugar. Yep. The sugar is
Yeah.
what makes it so thick. There's a ton of body because of the sugar.
Boy, oh boy. That's
I
interesting.
would use this to chase medicine with. Like if I had to take like a real nasty medicine, I would chase medicine with this. This would just get rid of that taste. My God, this is so thick and like there's so much happening here. My God.
Yeah, and what's even worse than the flavor, honestly, is the acid. And it almost tastes like somebody explained to the winemaker that you need acid to balance out the sugar, so they just threw a bunch in there afterwards.
Yeah.
That's kind of a level of care I feel that went into the acidification. There's no way this doesn't have added acid because it is strangely acidic. Strangely
Yeah.
acidic. And of course they did that to balance the sugar, but it's not doing a good job.
This has the same, and I'm gonna say this carefully because I don't want to give any of the like quality or compliment. This has all the same structure points as like the really nice like Takai sweet wine that we've had, without any of the balance or intentionality. It's like the level of like sweetness and acidity, and like I'm sipping it and I'm like, is this supposed to be like a really intentional dessert wine? But it's like all over the place, and like, is this a dessert wine?
I mean, it is supposed to be sweet. It's made to be sweet. There's no doubt about that. So you can have it as a dessert wine, but most people, and part of the reason why I picked this is a starter wine for a lot of people. A lot of people get into wine through Moscato because they like something sweet. They like the sugariness. And another thing, what I was doing with my Moscato d'Asti pick is trying to hopefully show that you can get the same grape with a little bit better experience by spending a little bit more. We'll see how that goes, but it's just sweet. And I said cloying is my first word. It's just acid is there, but it's bad. It doesn't do a good job breaking through. The flavors are kind of what we called out. There's a little bit of like peach. It's weirdly acidic still. I keep going back to that, but like, I don't know. It's just not good.
No, I'm glad, Aaron, that you brought up Tokai too, because I'm just sitting over here thinking, the similarity I think that you're picking up on is obviously it's sweet, right? It's supposed to be, you kind of get that mouthfeel, but it's a shame, I think, that people, when you hear sweet wine, I think sometimes people avoid it because they think of this type of thing where it's just sweet for the sake of being sweet. There's no art to it, and that's just kind of all it is. When really we've tried some amazing sweet wines that are not that.
Yeah, this is like reminiscent of those sweet wines, but this is the disaster version of that.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about intention, right? Those are intentionally made. They put a lot of effort into those. This is made to just be sold at a gas station. We're not even talking the same game.
All right, so we're going to do something we've never done before. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then on 4, instead of saying 4, we're all going to say how we rate this wine. Ready?
Okay. I like it.
1, 2, 3. Waste. Okay.
Drain waste.
Hey, that was fun.
Not even like background waste. Like, this is like, get this out of here. Don't ever buy this.
Yeah, you guys know I try real hard to drink the wines we buy because I don't like wasting our wines, and I don't foresee myself getting through this bottle.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Like,
you can't do it. It's just, it's gross. It's just gross. There's really nothing else to it. I mean, that's
yucky. It. All right. So, folks, all right, officially another unanimous waste of your wine. We're getting good at this. And, I feel better moving forward that when we talk about Barefoot and we naysay it, we are coming from a place of actually having drank it and not just talking about it.
Yes.
Thinking about our past or in reputation. I think that's more fair to the brand and to our listeners. So sacrifices have been made. All right, guys, before we jump into hopefully a better wine, anything else we want to say about our Barefoot before we send it on its way?
Well, okay, I do want to do one thing here because I'm perusing the back here. And this does say, it says between us. That's how it starts. Great poolside, which I don't know if I would agree with that. Better over ice.
Oh, no.
Which is kind of funny that they literally say
Telling.
better over ice.
Bryce, our product improves
Yeah.
if you water it down.
I did grab a little bit of ice. So if they're going to say better over ice on the bottle, I figure we should give it a little sip-ski and see
Hey,
if this really does improve. Okay, so let's...
maybe that'll cut down some of that thickness.
That's the only thing I can hope for. It's just colder.
Colder over ice would be
Just
a
a little
terrible
bit colder.
sentence to put on your.
Also not good over ice.
Pretty much everything we said, a little colder. I think as the ice melts, maybe it would dilute a little bit, which would be welcome. I think they're trying to jump onto that like Moet ice by the pool situation, but obviously say what you will about Moet, but they have a certain standard, a certain quality standard that folks have come to expect, and I don't think they're quite nailing that on this one, but thought we'd give it a try.
Report back once your wine is watered down a little bit to let us know if it got better. All right, so let's get into this. Colin, what are we drinking next? Give us the breakdown for wine number 2.
Yeah, so again, this is the Rivata Moscato d'Asti. This is only 5.5% alcohol, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and this comes in around $14. So we will see. Hopefully, the quality is considerably better.
So this is the Bud Light of wine.
Yeah, truly. 5.5%. My goodness.
All right, first sips, real quick, gentlemen. Colin.
More refined.
Makes more sense. Makes more sense. I know that's 3 words. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. All right, on the nose. Joel, why don't you start us off? What are you getting on the nose?
Okay, so it's interesting. There's a little bit more happening here. It does not have that 7-Up Sprite situation going on. It still has some liminess, a little bit more floralness in here. That's kind of nice. Yeah, that's what I got so far.
It shares a lot of the same overnotes, but everything in here is, like I said in my first sip, a lot more refined. Like you can, like Joel, I totally agree. It doesn't just smell like Sprite. You can actually pick out lemon. You can actually pick out lime. I think there's still a little bit of peachiness in there. The floral note, I think, is a great call. It's not terribly more complex than that. Maybe a little bit of, Aaron, I think you said honey on the last one. I think, again, in here also, but just a little toned down. Everything seems to like fit, at least on the nose.
So I noticed a pattern when we jump from like the super cheap $6 to $8 into like that first tier of like $12 to $14. I'm really curious if it's going to stand next week too, because I'm remembering back to last week when we went from the Yellowtail to the Penfold, and we went from super fake oaky, super alcohol, like super fake, and then we went to the Penfolds, and it was like, this just feels a little more real.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the same exact vibe on this. It's like we're just going from like hyper manufactured, is this even really wine? To like, this is wine. Like this is, we have entered wine, you know? And again, I think you kind of nailed it. Both of you were just like, it's the same kind of scent profile. And it's just like, this is what the first one was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is, again, like now we have to determine, is this actually achieving this effectively? But it's not fake, which is what that was. So that's what jumped out to me. Colin, do us the honors. What are you getting on the palate?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that sticks out to me, if you really hold it on your tongue for a bit, there's a tiny bit of effervescence. I think a lot of the flavors that we called out on the nose are in this one as well. You know, you get that lemon, you get the lime. I will say this one, the body is not as offensive. It's not as heavy. It's not as cloyingly sweet. Sweet is still absolutely part of this, as it will be for most Moscato, but like it actually, it makes more sense. All the structural elements are a lot more balanced in this wine than the last.
Exactly what I said, right? Just makes more sense. I don't know exactly what it even is about it, other than maybe just the quality just is a little bit better.
Sure.
Like it's clearly better. But that's the thing I keep thinking, because there are similar notes here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just done in a way that makes more sense and presents so much better, and is still sweet. Like, if your excuse for drinking the Barefoot is I like sweet wine, you can have that in a way that is not, poorly done.
Yeah, I mean, same as what you guys said. I think it's just on the palate. Like, you get that honey, I think, is the one that really sticks out. It is sweet. The acidity isn't so crazy. That thickness that we named in the first one, it's thicker. The sugar is still there, but the first thing we got on the Barefoot was like it just coated your mouth. And this is a little less aggressive.
I think there's something that's poking out here too that I think is very welcome. Is there's some fresh berry. Like, to me, I'm getting like a really nice kind of raspberry situation in here too. So, I do want to call. I know we were saying that there's similar flavor notes and all that good stuff. To me too, there's additional, more well placed notes going on in this one too.
Yeah, and Barefoot said tangerine. I don't know if you could have picked a tangerine out of that mess, but the finish on this one is very tangerine-y. Like, it is orange for days. The finish is actually a little interesting because it kind of goes from like sweet orange to like orange rind for me. It's not. It gets a little pithy towards the end where it maybe gets a little bit more bitter. But the finish on this one is actually a little enjoyable. In my opinion, that the acid kind of makes sense as opposed to the Barefoot. That was just like, what's going on? Why this acid? Yeah. This all comes together, I think, in a way that's much better than the Barefoot.
All right, let's I'd say put a cork in it, but this is a screw on. So let's
hold for applause.
It's like, yes.
All right, let's put a cork in it for a moment, and we'll come back to this in a bit. Let's learn a little bit about Moscato. I know nothing about Moscato at all, so I am very excited to jump into this. And then we'll come back to this to the end and kind of figure out how Colin did. All right, gentlemen. So Moscato is one of those wines where people kind of decide what they think about it before the bottles even open. As I mentioned, I had never tried Moscato before. We've done this, and all I knew about it is what everyone else told me, and people had opinions. And it was like, that is sweet wine. That is college girls drinking this wine. This is, your mom's favorite wine that they're picking up. Like, everyone has opinions on this thing already. They already got a picture in their head.
Yeah. Yeah, they have opinions. They have a picture in their head, and in most situations, it's not a good one. It's a lot of the things that we called out. It's that spritiness. It's the I think you said melted peach rings, Colin. I love that. It's it's heavy. It's sugar. It's one of those things where you're not going to be sipping on this for a long time throughout the night, because I just don't think that most stomachs can handle that. And I think because of all of that too, Moscato kind of has this reputation of being just not a serious wine, or almost like it's a beginner wine. It's the way that you, like, I think somebody mentioned, you get into wine by drinking Moscato.
Yeah, and honestly, as we saw, I can't believe beginners drink this, but at least the Barefoot, that all the negative you just mentioned can absolutely be true. We're experiencing it here live. Yeah. Like it is, all of those bad things you just mentioned is the Barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that people generalize about the category too much, because a lot of times they haven't had anything outside of the Barefoot. Because sweetness and weight are not the same thing. And that's really where the misconception is here.
Right, because when we're talking about sweet, what we have to remember is, like, it's not like it's only one version of sweet, right? There's a huge difference between sweet, like, I want dessert in a glass sweet, or sweet like I just want something lighter that just happens to be sweet.
Exactly. I think it goes back to how we were talking about how we've had sweet wines on this show that have really impressed us. And, I think we're seeing such a big difference between these two wines today too, because Moscato d'Asti specifically is aiming for that kind of that second piece. It's somebody who wants a sweet wine, a good wine that happens to be sweet. It's not trying to be rich. It's trying to be easy. It's trying to be lifted.
And I think that's the key. Moscato d'Asti isn't lighter because it's less sweet. I mean, they're honestly both very sweet, but it's lighter because everything else is lighter too, which is what we're experiencing here. It seems like Moscato d'Asti is just a turn down. Even I mentioned refined in my first sip version of the Barefoot.
So, I mean, here we go. So let's talk about the region a little bit. So, we're talking about Piedmont here. And like that's obviously a huge wine region. A lot of people know Piedmont when we're talking about that ahead of time, maybe not immediately associating Moscato in their head. But, right off the bat, we got to talk about the hillsides in Piedmont. And we're talking about grapes. And we're talking about them becoming, the cooler environment and the grapes becoming overly ripe, which is a big part of the hyper sweetness of Moscato.
It gets super ripe in the heat, and it can get very tropical. That peachy note comes through. But in the Piedmont, especially around Asti, and we learned about the Piedmont and Asti when talking about Barolo and Barbaresco, and we've actually learned about these hills before and what a difference they make. So good.
I miss that so much right now.
Better times. But yeah, so
it's no Barefoot, but
yeah. Yeah. How dare you? The cooler nights in Asti help the wine to retain that acidity and aromatic freshness. So, we're drinking actual acidic wine, not wine that tastes like it's had acid added to it. And that's why you're going to get some of those smells that you can actually smell instead of just Sprite. You're getting that floral note, which I think Joel pointed out. You're getting citrus, fresh peach instead of that peach ring that I mentioned with the Barefoot. So, it's that difference between the syrupy and more of that fresh while still maintaining that sweetness.
Yeah, it's almost a shame for Moscato d'Asti here too, because people hear Italian sweet wine, and again, they're going back to that dense, they're going back to, just overly sweet. But this region is actually trying to protect the wine from becoming that. It's trying to be the actual thing, not what people correlate it to.
Yeah, so I mean that's what's keeping like the refreshing side of the Moscato, and so we got it getting bright first and then sweet. But the actual thing that was like really crazy to me when Colin first read the label, I mean we knew it was going to be sweet. That's something we all know about Moscato, but 5.5% ABV was something that really kind of stood out to me right off the bat. And I think that is something that is more associated with, specifically with Moscato d'Asti, is that lower alcohol level. Like that's super low. I'm pretty sure the lowest ABV wine that we have had on the show in the 3 years we've been doing this.
I would agree, and I think that's an important thing to talk about here too, because I think that's an important reason that we're experiencing the wine the way that we are. You taste the sweetness, you assume richness, but alcohol is going to change that texture a lot as well.
Yeah, because alcohol actually adds to the weight. So, in that Barefoot, it just felt heavy all the way through because you're almost at 10%, which still isn't a lot, but comparatively 10 to 5.5, you're double the amount of alcohol. So you are going to feel that heaviness of the alcohol on the palate. Yep. And then Moscato d'Asti keeps its fermentation shorter on purpose so that alcohol stays low and some of that natural grape sugar stays behind. So they're not adding any sugar to this. It's all natural grape sugar. And that's what they're trying to achieve. They're intentionally making it feel lighter compared to some of the other Moscato styles.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier too, Colin, when we were trying the Moscato d'Asti, you mentioned a little bit of effervescence that you're experiencing on the tongue too.
A little bit.
I think we need to talk about that as well, because that's a key to, I think, this style as well. Not because we're trying to compare this or that they had any intention of trying to make it feel like a champagne or a sparkling, but that little bit of the carbonation, that plays into the experience as well. And that's kind of part of what makes it feel a little bit more lifted on your palate.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a really good way to put it, right? Because the fizz stops the sweetness from just like sitting there heavily. And again, like I think comparing that to the Barefoot, right? Like maybe they need to add some fizz to the Barefoot.
Don't give them that idea. I don't want to see how they try to execute that one.
Serve this on ice and fizz.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it just the way the wine's built with the carbonation, the acidity, the lower alcohol are really all working together to make it a more refreshing style of a sweet wine.
Wrapping this up, let's kind of talk about what to expect. And, you know, this is always, I always love when we do this because we get to kind of go back and we kind of see what we got versus what we were supposed to get. So let's really see how this wine did. So if you've never had Moscato d'Asti before, what you should get is you should get peach, you should get orange blossoms, maybe some apricot, and some citrus. You should be getting a low alcohol wine, and soft bubbles, and it should be super approachable.
I love that you said orange blossom there because I was kind of struggling with tangerine, and then I said like orange pith, but I think orange blossom kind of like just totally unlocked something in my head there. So really good call on that. And all to say that the Moscato d'Asti is going to have a lighter body than most people expect, and this isn't going to be syrupy like other maybe cheaper Moscatos might be.
Yeah, it's like this is its own thing. This is its own place. And we were talking a lot earlier about just how, you know, people can view Moscato as, you know, the entryway into wine, or it's just there for people who say they like sweet wine. I think what we're experiencing here with the Moscato d'Asti, though, too, specifically is, you know, yeah, this can be for someone who, you know, likes sweet wine and wants to stick to sweet wine, but it can also be just for somebody who likes wine and wants to experience a sweeter side of wine. You don't want to get into, you know, dessert wines or fortified wines. You just want to have a nice, easygoing sweet wine. I mean, this is available. And conversely, too, it is there, I think, for people who aren't super familiar with wine and are looking for an easy way to get in. People who have been told sweet wine doesn't count. I think this is a good example of how it does.
All right, so we just kind of got real into Moscato, specifically from this region. I think I have a
way more
completely different understanding of Moscato than I did before.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a grape I hadn't explored too much. I'm glad we went through it like that. I think it helps, especially, and like I hope this is where if your entry is Barefoot, just knowing that the difference between that Moscato and what Moscato can be from a region that cares about its grapes and that cares about its winemaking, the difference can be pretty stark. So, you know, I hope if you're into Moscato, you will go out and find, even if it's not necessarily this bottle, go out and try a Moscato d'Asti just as for comparison and see if it is something that you enjoy.
All right. It's everyone's favorite time of the show. It's time for our review. High stakes, as always. As a reminder, listeners, on the show, we're a little bit different. We don't believe in numbers. We believe in vibes. As everyone knows, that jingle sound means it's time for Joel to let us know if adding ice to his wine made it any better. Joel, did it make it better?
Nope.
All right. Fantastic. Moving on. Here on Stop Wasting Your Wine, we believe in vibes more than numbers. So on this show, must-share wines are exceptionally good bottles of wine that, you know, we just want to share. Solid pours are just really good bottles of wine with good values. Casual sippers are enjoyable, but not necessarily memorable. Wines that are overvalued, low quality, or undrinkable are wastes of your wine. And of course, each of us have 3 spots in our wine fridge every year for our 3 favorite wines of the year. All right, gentlemen. We've all unanimously decided that the Barefoot wine was a waste of your wine, to the shock of everyone listening. Moment of silence. Colin, this was your wine, so you will go last. I am hosting, so I get to not go first. Joel, how are you feeling about the Moscato d'Asti?
This is tough. This is a tough one. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to be very, very objective on this one because, you know, it's not 100% in my wheelhouse, Moscatos in general. I have a new appreciation for them after talking about them and learning about them a little bit with you guys. I'm really close to calling this a casual sipper because when I look at it, it's enjoyable. But here's the thing that's holding me back. We've had, like we talked about, some really good sweet wines, and I know that they're upper level, all that good stuff. But the big key thing that isn't happening here that I think would be able to put that into a different category is something with a little acid kick in there. Like, God, that would 100% make this a casual sipper for me. I'm looking at this; it's really close, but I think it's just under the bar for me to be able to call it a casual sipper. Because I think it's just falling a little bit short of that enjoyment factor for me. It's really, really close, but just short. So ultimately, I think I'm gonna have to go waste of your wine on this one as well. But my heart hurts a little bit for this because it's so close.
I'm in a super similar place, and part of it I'm trying to separate, like, is it me personally because I don't like sipping on this because I'm like, I would not buy this again. Like, I would not sip on this because I wouldn't sip on this casually, and that's just me. But we've separated that before, right? We've said, like, I just don't like, and that's fine. I am thinking about, like, last week, and I am thinking about the Penfolds, and it was actually remarkably similar where we're landing of, like, there was like one thing missing. There was if only this had a little bit more of X, like it would push it over the realm. So all that being said, I do think it's a waste of your wine, only because I just think there's a couple things missing, and I want it to be a little bit better. And that's it. I want it to be better for itself. I want to find itself a little bit more. I think it is much better than the Barefoot. I think the quality gap is gigantic. It has a great gap. Colin.
Yeah. So this is definitely not my style of wine. I'm not a Moscato fan.
Not a Moscato
I
girl?
don't think, not a Moscato girl, I'm not. I don't think I'd buy either of them again. But I will say I think the quality is there enough to call this a casual sipper. I think it's really well balanced. Joel, I kind of disagree. I think it has enough acid. Maybe that's a personal thing, but I think there's enough of that there. It still is sweet, but that's the style,
Yeah. People
are expecting sweet here. And you can't really compare this, in my opinion anyway, to some of the nicer sweet wines we have because it's not trying to be that, and I think this is a really good example of what Moscato is. I think the flavors are really nice. It's slightly effervescent, which I am really enjoying. I think we talked about the learning segment. It has that lift, or Moscato d'Asti can have that lift. I think this wine has that. So am I personally casually sipping this? No. But if you're going to try a Moscato, try this one because I think you'll be happy with it. And I think it's a nice casual sipper.
And I might just need more experience with Moscatos, to be honest with you, to know where the bar should be. All right. So this is a tricky one, folks. We will name it is tricky. I think, honestly, it is getting to that weird. We are in that weird zone where we are looking at weird prices. We are looking at a Barefoot that costs you somewhere between $6 and $9, and maybe they should pay us. And a bottle of wine that suddenly feels too expensive because comparatively it's like 3 times the amount of the other bottle, even though they're both very cheap. So, like, we're just we're getting in a weird place with cost and quality, which doesn't seem totally fair to the Moscato d'Asti either. So that being said, yeah. So
I nailed the challenge though. I mean, the Moscato d'Asti is 1,000 times better than the Barefoot.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that.
Yes, and so it's going to be tough. We are in a weird position. What it's going to come down to, Joel, is it's going to come down to next week. You are going to have to look at what your distance is between the price and the quality gap. Yeah, it's going to be there too because I had a slightly closer price gap, Colin. You had a slightly better quality gap, but you also had a slightly wider price gap too that we're gonna have to account for on the rubric because we love rubrics and numbers on this show.
We do. We're big into that.
We're big into numbers on the show, as we say every week. We hate vibes. All right. So Barefoot, unequivocally, unanimous, waste your wine. The Moscato d'Asti, two hesitant waste votes and a casual sipper, with the slight caveat that it is a unique flavor and a sweet wine. And if that is something that you are into or haven't had before, you should definitely give it a try and judge it for yourself. But you should definitely try the Moscato d'Asti and definitely not try the Barefoot.
I think that
Barefoot
we can agree on.
Yeah. we all
100%.
agree on that. Cool. So thank you so much for listening. If you're still listening at this point, we have been moving through so many wines over the past few weeks. At this point, there have been 3 weeks in a row of 2 wines per episode. So we are just moving through wines, getting all the bang for your buck. And that's after a bang for your buck challenge. Man, so with all that being said, Joel, if listeners want to continue to interact with us after all the nonsense and puns, how would they do so?
Go on YouTube or Instagram. Just search for Stop Wasting Your Wine. Go to stopwastingyourwine.com to see what we've been up to and check out everything we've reviewed. And listen, just wherever you're listening, if you haven't already, give us a follow and tell a friend. We'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. And listen to us every week. Episodes come out every Tuesday. We'll see you next week.
And in the meantime, just remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.